A very good morning to everybody. Here we are for the Classical Languages of Indian Subcontinent workshop, which is a 5-day workshop from 27th of July till 31st of July. This is an honor for us to have this such a galaxy of scholars with us, who are all the way from France to South India, then Northeast India, from different parts of India and abroad. We have gathered here specialists who know who are the experts of their disciplines in the fields of the classical languages of India. For the This was an initiative. This workshop was part of the School of Liberal Arts syllabus, where we are trying to integrate different social linguistics aspects and to integrate interdisciplinary approach in our research and academic discipline. For today's event, we have Ms. Deepika Bansode, the Faculty of Liberal Arts. Ms. Deepika Bansode will now take over the anchoring of the event. No problem, Deepika, you can continue without video and you can go ahead. Just introduce the event.
आवाज आ रही है मैम?
हाँ दीपिका बोलिए.
Okay. Good evening and a very warm welcome to you for the Classical Languages of Indian Subcontinent workshop organized by School of Liberal Arts, Dr. Baba Saheb Ambedkar, Marathwada University. Thanks for joining us in this workshop. And once again, a very warm welcome to all for the Classical Languages of Indian Subcontinent workshop. Now, may I welcome to our today's event president, Dr. Dr. Chetna Sonkamble ma'am, Dean, Interdisciplinary Studies, Dr. Baba Saheb Ambedkar, Marathwada University. Welcome, ma'am. Now, may I request Dr. Bina Sengar ma'am, Director of School of Liberal Arts, Dr. Baba Saheb Ambedkar, Marathwada University, to introduce the theme of workshop.
Thank you, Deepika, for allowing me to introduce this workshop. Before I begin introducing this workshop, on behalf of School of Liberal Arts, first of all, I would like to welcome our president of the event and our Dean, Faculty of Interdisciplinary Studies, Professor Chetna Sonkamble ma'am, she is also a very famous educationist and a continuous rigorous researcher. She has contributed immensely in the field and development of academic research and sciences. Academic research and sciences in interdisciplinary studies, as well as in education and psychology. I also, on my behalf, of course, my colleagues will be welcoming him. I also welcome Professor Pierre Filozia, and I welcome Professor Satish Dangesa, who is Director, Phule and Mahatma Phule Ambedkar Shahu Research Center in Dr. Baba Saheb Ambedkar, Marathwada University. There has been immense work being done by both these scholars to promote the interdisciplinary research, as well as the interdisciplinary, as well as the diverse field of the social sciences itself. It is because of the consistent support of Professor Sonkamble ma'am and Professor Dange sir that we could arrange such an event at such a massive scale. I'm so proud to announce to you all that in last 2 days, we have received more than 250 registration for this 5-day workshops. 250 registration के साथ आज हम इस workshop को शुरू कर रहे हैं. और in this particular workshop, we have received participation from all over India. There are participation from Kashmir, there are participation from Kerala, Tamil Nadu, Gujarat, Bengal, Assam, and even Manipur. So people from all parts of India have joined our workshop, and we have created a wonderful database of them. And for the information of the, I'll just quickly share a tab, and I'll show you that how this workshop is going to be organized through a Google Classroom. So we have this Google Classroom where we are going to continuously assess after every day. हर दिन के session के बाद यहाँ पर एक assignment post किया जाएगा और सभी participants को यहाँ पर registration के लिए बोला गया है. So all the participants of the workshop are being invited to be part of this classroom for this workshop. और उनका डेली कंटिन्यूअस असेसमेंट होगा और उनके बेसिस पर ही उनको ग्रेड्स दिए जाएंगे. एंड आफ्टर द एंड ऑफ द वर्कशॉप they will be given a certificate as well. So this is how we have planned this workshop for 5 days, where we have invited some of the best eminent scholars. And to begin with the begin with the inaugural session of the event, we have Professor Pierre Filozia as the keynote inaugural speaker of today's inaugural ceremony, and Mrs. Vasundhara, Dr. Vasundhara Filozia, ma'am, who herself is an eminent Sanskritist and iconographist. She is going to be the co-discussant and chair. So a lot of because we have a lot of vernacular speaking participant as well, and ma'am is a wonderful speaker in Marathi language as well. Apart from knowing Kannada, she knows Marathi as well. So some of the aspect during the discussion session after the Professor Pierre Filosias's presentation, ma'am will be giving a discussion point, and then there will be chairperson's remarks by Professor Satish Damisa. So this is the workshop, and we welcome all the participants from all parts of India. A heartiest welcome from School of Liberal Arts. Please join us. Please enjoy these 5 days of rigorous learning from some of the eminent scholars of the world who are going to nourish you with Sanskrit, Pali, Prakrit, Brahmi, Urdu, Persian, and also the cultural impact of these different languages in the making of today's India. So once again, welcome you all, and let's have a great academic session. Thank you, Deepika. Now I hand over the session to you.
Thank you, ma'am. Now, may I request Dr. Vaibhav Thakre sir, Faculty of School of Liberal Arts, Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar, Marathwada University, to introduce our keynote speaker for the day, Professor Pierre Sylvain Filanze, Senior Indologist, Sorbonne University from Paris, to our esteemed audience. Please, sir.
Yeah,
Can
Vaibhav.
you? Yes, madam. Can you listen?
Yeah, we can hear you, Vaibhav. Please go
Okay,
ahead.
okay. So, good morning, all of you, even sir and madam also. So, my duty is here to introduce our keynote speaker. Okay, today's keynote speaker is, you all know, very respected, renowned writer, even a Indologist, Pierre Filonzi, sir. He is a son of Jain Filonzi, the famous uh, Indologist. Pierre Filonze, he has been immersed since childhood in the atmosphere of Indian studies, particularly Sanskrit. In 1959, he obtained the diploma in Hindi from National Institute of Oriental Languages and Civilizations. Then in 1962, diploma for the particular school of higher studies with the thesis of that is into the name of thesis into the French actually. If I read wrong, so sorry, sir. Lee, that is under the guidance of Louis Reno. He is a member of the French School of Eastern from 1963 to 67 until today. He was the director of Sanskrit Studies and Practical School of Higher Studies since 1998. He has also been associate member of Center for the History and Urban and Medieval Science and Philosophies. Professor Emeritus. He is a member of Asian Society and the honorary member of the Center Phenomenon Studies. On the March 25, 2015, in New Delhi, the President of India, Sri uh, Pranav Mukherjee, presented him a letter of recognition of skilled Sanskrit letters for scholarship in science in recognition of his work on Sanskrit language and literature. This is the small introduction of today's guest, and We will continue with Deepika madam. Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Hmm.
Now, may I request to Mr. Ashwin Jogdan, sir, Faculty of School of Liberal Arts, Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar, Marathwada University, to introduce our discusser chairperson, Dr. Vasundhara Filanze ma'am, and our second chairperson, Professor Satish Dandege, sir, Director of Mahatma Phule Ambedkar and Shahu Study Center, Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar, Marathwada University.
Good morning, everyone. I hope I am audible.
Yes.
Yes, Ashwin, you are audible. Please go
Yeah.
ahead.
I have a great pleasure to introduce our chairperson, Professor Satish Dandge, for our today's workshop. Dandge sir is currently head Department of Public Administration and also director of Mahatma Phule Study Center, Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar, Marathwada University, Aurangabad. He has more than 20 years of teaching and administrative experience. Professor Dandge sir has published books on Krishi Vipnan in 2003, Indian Administration in 2006, Administration of Regulated Market in 2007. He was also a Senate member of our university from 2010 to 2015. He was also former Dean of Faculty of Humanities in Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar Marathwada University, Aurangabad. So in such a short time, there is much more to tell about Professor Dandge sir, but due to time limit, we have shortened this his biodata. So I request Deepika ma'am to continue this workshop.
Thank you, Ashwin sir. हम सब जिस वक्त का जिसकी राह देख रहे हैं, जिनकी बात सुनने के लिए हम सब इंतजार कर रहे हैं और जिनकी बात सुनने के लिए हमने ये प्रोग्राम ऑर्गेनाइज किया है, आज हम उनको सुनने वाले हैं. तो मैं नाउ मे आई रिक्वेस्ट टू प्रोफेसर Pierre Sylvain Filanze sir to inaugural lecture.
So you need to unmute yourself. You need to unmute. In a while, I'll take a little liberty, and I would request President of our event today, Professor Chetna Sunkamle ma'am, to say a few words, because ma'am has a very busy schedule today. So soon after the inaugural session, she has to attend at 11:30. She will be attending the Academic Council meeting. So I request Chetna ma'am to say a few words before we begin the session. With our honorable keynote inaugural speaker. Chetna ma'am? Sunkamle ma'am?
Second, give me, Bina ma'am, just give me 2 minutes because I'm driving right now. I have to park somewhere else and somewhere. Within 2 minutes, I will just. Yes.
Definitely, ma'am. Definitely. Thank you. In meanwhile, I'll once again introduce Chetna ma'am. She is the Dean of Faculty of Interdisciplinary Studies. So our School of Liberal Arts, which is actually about interdisciplinary studies, where we, in our consequent efforts, we are trying to integrate social sciences, and humanities together. And that is why in such we could bring Sanskrit, Pali, Buddhism, Brahmi, Urdu, Persian, all together in this one workshop, because this school is developed in the lines of the thematic content that majority of the disciplines which we study in isolation need an interdisciplinary discourse and dialogue. And as part of this initiative, in 2014, 2013, our department was founded. And at that particular time, our honorable vice chancellor, sir, those times, Professor Pandri Pandey, sir, had formulated this concept. And since last 7 years, 7 to 8 years, we are developing this particular department where we have several courses. One of the very important courses, Masters in Liberal Arts, where we take only 20 students in one semester. and we invite scholars from different parts of the stream. So it's not necessary that the student has to be only science or arts graduate. They can be engineers. And in last so many years, we had different disciplinary students to be part of our discipline for our Masters of Liberal Arts. So it's a very inviting course. It is a very diverse course which opens a scholar, a learner especially, to many disciplines of the learning and aspects of learning as well. Will Son Kamble ma'am,
Yes,
are you
ma'am.
there?
Bina
Yeah.
ma'am,
Thank you, ma'am.
shall
Thank you,
I?
ma'am. Please, yeah, ma'am. Please give your presidential remarks, ma'am.
Am I audible?
Yes,
Yes.
ma'am. You're very much audible. Please go ahead, ma'am.
Okay. Good morning, one and all. Thank you so much, Dr. Bina, for introducing me over here, and thanks to all the organizing team for making this event happen. Today, as we are all here for the inaugural function of 5-day workshop uh, based on classical languages of Indian subcontinent. It will be held between 27th to 31st of July 2021, and on such a short notice, after taking the responsibility of School of Liberal Arts as an IC director, Dr. Bina Sengar has taken lots of efforts for organizing this first event after a long time, seems to be since the establishment of the department. The department was little bit of lethargy, and now as it is being shouldered to a young generation, so I hope so that there will be all the time we are being listening अच्छे दिन आएंगे अभी liberal arts को. So I'm hoping for the same, looking forward for the same, to be like everything is going to be very very much settled now with liberal arts. There are all as it is being introduced by Bina ma'am and the anchor, that the participants who has been joined over here are in the number of near about 250 from all over the India, and uh, the keynote address you are going to listen in very short time right now by Professor Perry Filoze, who is a senior Indologist, University of Sorbonne, France, and the theme will be like Sanskrit as an language of India. So this topic which is being selected for this workshop is really, it is a need of the hour, as we know that in today's dynamic world, being master of a single trait is surely not enough. So interdisciplinary education has become a prerequisite, and through such type of workshops and courses, a study of multiple courses from a field to get a holistic interdisciplinary education in one degree program. So from that angle, liberal arts is a multidisciplinary approach, or like it is a mix of subjects from various disciplines including humanities, science, commerce and technology. As we already know that liberal arts is the disruption in the field of education in India, and however there is a huge lack of awareness about the scope and benefits of such a wonderful program, and the pioneer of this liberal arts school in the University of Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar Marathwada University was Dr. former vice chancellor of this university, Professor Dr. Pandri Pandey sir, and his thought was very he has started this course, this school from a different vision, and all the time he is being sharing with me that how the liberal art school of liberal arts is going on in our university, and I keep on updating him every time, because it was very close to heart. It is still very close to heart to Dr. Professor Pandri Pandey sir, and in starting when Professor Dharurkar sir was part and parcel of this liberal arts school, at that time syllabus framing, in that syllabus framing committee, myself and Professor Ragade sir and a lot many, even Bina ma'am was there, and after that it as we already know, there are lots of advantages of this liberal arts, and that curriculum should be framed providing a learning experience which will empower students with the skills to deal with change, diversity, and complexity, to make them problem solvers, critical thinkers, and responsible members of the society. But it needs to be focused in such a way that I am confident enough right now that it is being shouldered to a right person, right women in the right place regarding this school of liberal arts. So there are lots of advantages of this course. So if it is being introduced in this way, it will really help and develop more sort of soft skills also, which need to be polished, and proficiency in writing, public speaking, presentation skills, collaboration work, and creativity, due to the nature, or we can say that liberal arts courses are being developed in such a way. Not only not just a political leader, a liberal arts degree helps you in leading teams through creating, collaborating, inspiring, and innovating in the corporate world too. And as today's this thing regarding or knowing a linguistic history of Indian subcontinent, as we already know that in old Indo-Aryan Vedic Sanskrit and classical Sanskrit and Prakritis and Pali, Apsabada and Dravidian languages, history of Tamil, and Middle Tamil, and classification of Old Tamil and Modern Tamil, and through history of Telugu, its origin, stages, and lot many things are there in this workshop. And I hope so that you will really you will really be enlightened with all the thoughts which will be given over here in this 5-day workshop. So I'm very much thankful on the behalf of the university to all the participants who have joined here with a large number, and hope so you'll enjoy this 5 day of workshop with full of thought for the food for the thought. And you will appreciate each and everything, and we'll be working in with all your universities with you are associated with collaboratively in coming years. And so wish you all the very best, and thank you so much for inviting me over here. And with this note, I would like to stop here, because immediately at 11:30 I'm having my meeting of academic council. So thank you so much, and wish you all the very best to all of you who have joined over here for their future prospects also. And thank you, Dr. Beena Sengar, for inviting me over here, and thanks to all the organizing committee. Thank you so much, and have a nice day.
Thank you, ma'am, for such an inspiring and motivating words. Your words and your presence was a big motivator for us to go ahead with this workshop in much more successful way. Thanks a lot, ma'am, and wish you too a very happy day. Now, thank you, Chetna ma'am. And now I hand it over to Deepika to further initiate the welcoming and initiating the talk of Professor Philozia. Deepika, just
Hi.
welcome again, sir, and so that he can begin the lecture.
Welcome, Filanze sir. Now may I request to start your lecture.
Yeah. Please, sir, welcome.
Welcome, sir.
Sir, you need to switch on your mic. Your microphone is off.
Okay, so I think it is okay now.
Yeah, it's perfect. It's perfectly all right, sir.
My voice comes down during the lecture. Do not hesitate to protest.
I'll be there.
And on my side, there is what we call in Sanskrit Dharma Patni. I will first start with one invocation of Ganesha, as I know it is a good practice in many occasions, in many ceremonies, and in many lectures in India. And I am glad that some of these traditional customs are still maintained and are very appreciated now. Lila Gala Lula Lola Kala Vyala Vila Sine Ganeshaya Namo Nila Kamala Marakantaye. Excuse me for my pronunciation of Sanskrit. My mother tongue is French, and my accent, whatever language I try to speak, is always the French accent, especially the accent of Paris. It has been told that I have been professor in Paris, but in fact, I have spent half of my life in India. And since about 60 years, I am coming to India every year to do research, especially on Sanskrit. My father has established one French institute in Pondicherry at the time of the merger of the ancient French colony into the Republic of India in 1955. And a part of the treaty which was done between France and India at that time includes the presence of one French institute called French Institute of Pondicherry, which is purely devoted to research in traditional India, in the religion, as it is currently practiced all over India, and as Pondicherry is in the extreme south of India. Of course, it is a region of this region of India which has retained the interest only for practical reasons. One purpose of this institute was to permit the collaboration of French scholars, French Indologists, with traditional Indian scholars, those which we call Shastri or Pandit. And of course, when I came for the first time in India, that was to work and to learn Sanskrit. I came as a student long ago to learn Sanskrit with a traditional Pandit. My traditional Pandit was N. Ramachandra Bhatt. He is from Karnataka, and my Dharmapatni is from Karnataka. And his first lesson was to explain to me the concept of Dharma. Dharma is nature, simply. This is the most simple definition. There are many definitions of Dharma found in Sanskrit literature. If we take a book of law, it will be Dharma will be given the meaning of law and gives the inheritance, rules of inheritance and so on, and give information about the different parts of the society. This is a very important aspect. If we go to the school of the grammarians, that is the school of Panini, the Paniniya Vyakarana, there is a different concept. The definition is Dharmaha Swabhavaha. Dharma is the proper nature of everything. Yeah, proper nature which is considered as good. If we are faithful to the Prakriti, to the basic nature of Dharma, everything will go smoothly and correctly. If there is any alteration, it will be adharma and something will go wrong. So Dharma includes all that is regular in the world. It starts with the movements of planets in the sky. It goes up to the common needs of life for a man. A man has to eat, he has to sleep. If he disturbs his way of eating, or if he refrains from sleeping, his health will be ruined. That will be adharma. So dharma, in the same way, in every aspect, is considered as the nature of things. And I feel this is a good concept to guard our activities in the proper way. I say that my Dharma Patni is sitting just close to me. That is one rule which is considered as the nature of a human relationship. The wife is always united with the husband, and the husband cannot have a serious and good action without the support of the wife, without her presence. In very ancient times, Agnishtoma was lighting the fire was a must, a daily occupation, and considered as a fundamental one. The wife has to be present. The man is acting, pouring ghee in the fire, but the wife is there and her presence is necessary. This is the role of a Dharma Patni. Dharma Patni is explained by traditional pundits as a compound word, Dharmasya Patni iti Dharma Patni, compound word of the genitive word, the sixth case, Shashti, and the Shashti in that case is given a special meaning, the meaning of having such and such purpose. We are doing, for example, a compound word like Ashvaghasa. Ashvaghasa means food for the horse. And this is grass, and special grass, which is preserved to feed the horse. So this is called Ashvaghasa, Ashvaya Ghasaha, iti Ashvaghasaha. Dharma Patni is the same. Dharmasya Patni, this is a wife for the purpose of accomplishing Dharma. This is an important concept. That's why she is not separated from the husband. And that's why that is the fact which makes her a pativrata, one who has done a vow of faithfulness to her husband. This is a basic concept. It is presented in a beautiful way by Kalidasa. If you want to know something about the conception of the world, which was current in ancient India, we have to read Kalidasa. In Raghuvamsha, Kalidasa narrates the story of Dilip and his queen Sudakshina. When he speaks about the queen, he does not use a word like Maharani. He uses a word like Maharaja for the king, that is current, but he uses mostly the word Dharmapatni to present the queen of the country in that time. Of course, this is a legendary king, and the king is considered as Lord of the world, Lord of the universe, governing and protecting the Dharma of the whole world, of the complete universe. In one beautiful verse, Kalidasa speaks about the service which Sudakshina, the queen, renders to Dilipa, the legendary king. Dilipa had done one mistake. He was occupied with some thoughts, and he neglected to pay homage to Kamadhenu, who was passing nearby. Kamadhenu was unhappy. She cursed him with having no son. And she made a limit, she imposed a limit about the curse. The limit was that the king will be relieved from the curse to have no son when he pays homage to Nandini, who is the daughter of Kamadhenu. So this is the basic story. The king is considered placed himself at the service of the cow Nandini. And he takes them in his residence, and every day he goes to the forest, to the surrounding for the feeding and guiding the cow. This is not the normal duty of a king, and this is exactly the opposite, but the king goes down streets to be just like a gopa, a simple shepherd. His wife, Sudakshina, remains near him, and every morning she prepares the cow for her walk and for going to the forest, where she will be guided and protected by the king. Kuranyasa, Tashaha, Kuranyasa, Pavitra Pamsum, Apam Sudanam, Juri Kirtaniya, Margam. Excuse me, Margam Manusheshvara Dharmapatni, Shruter Rivas, Glitir and Vargachat. This means that the Dharmapatni of the Manusheshvara, the Lord of mankind, is a universal Lord. The Lord of the wife of the Dharma wife, the wife for accomplishing the Dharma of mankind, was the wife was following the traces of the steps of the cow in the forest. The wife is qualified by the words Apam Sulanam Duri Kirtaniya. We call Pansula in common Sanskrit, in literal meaning, means covered with dust or stained, but it is also given the name, the meaning of Swerini, a woman who acts according to her own will, her own fancy. A free woman, as every woman is nowadays. But this is another matter. The Sudakshina, the queen, was Apansulanam, Duri Kirtaniya. She was famous as being at the top, at the summit of all the pativrata, of all the faithful, the not taking no freedom women in the world. And she was following, stepping, following the cow and following the dust which the cow was raising when she was walking. And as it is dust touched by the cow Nandini, the sacred cow, this dust is told to be pavitra, to be purifying. This is her work to accomplish Dharma. And Kalidasa concludes the verse with a beautiful comparison and very appropriate comparison. Shrute Riva, Smritir and Vagachat. The Shruti, the Smriti is just repeating the meaning of the Shruti, of the Veda, in other words. But she follows exactly the meaning. The words are changed. The Smriti are the works about Dharma of Manu, Yajnavalkya, and the other great sages. The Smriti is following very closely the meaning of Shruti about the good order of the world as told in the Veda, very faithfully, without doing any distortion, any step outside of the right way. So this is a description of the Dharma Patni. The Smriti follows the Shruti in order to accomplish the purpose of Dharma. So this is a beautiful image of Dharma, and I feel that with an Indian wife, I am very fortunate. I am very fortunate to go myself and to do myself what I can do for the Dharma, for the good of the world. And of course, I have devoted my life to study the Sanskrit books which speak about Dharma. If you want to know more about the ancient conceptions, we have, if we want to know something about the cultural life, about the intellectual activity in India, and intellectual activity is the main part which gives a good main part of the research on what is Dharma, what is to be done, what is good. If we want to know the ancient conception of India, we have to take recourse to Sanskrit because that was expressed, to my knowledge, only in Sanskrit. I can say a few words on the concept of classical language. Sorry, a small incident. We are at home, and at home, things are going with more facility and also with more disorders than in a regular seminar. But this is the condition, the situation of our days now. So I was mentioning, yes, a few words about the concept of a classical language. Every literature, every language of the world has a period in which it is considered as having a good, better aspect, a better form, and giving good modes of expressions, good facilities of expression. And this corresponds generally to a period of good literature. For every language, there is a classical period. I have one for French, which comes in the 17th century. I feel that there is one for Marathi, the period of Tukaram, Eknath, and all the great poets of Maharashtra. And that comes also about 16th, 17th century. There is Tamil literature, Tamil classical. There is a classical Tamil, which is quite different from the usual spoken Tamil nowadays, and which is called Saint Tamil, something like that. I am not a specialist of Tamil. Every language, all the same, can be told of every language. Canada has its classical period in 12th, 13th century with the poets Pamparana Janna and many others. And the language spoken at that time is considered as more respectable and as more distinguished and more elevated. If we consider Sanskrit, we have to say that Sanskrit has a perpetual, eternal period is eternally classical. That is the difference. This is a language which has been practiced for intellectual activity, and in India it has been all that has passed in the human brain during more than 3 millenniaries on the ground or on the soil of India has been written in Sanskrit. And this is very elevated thought, very elevated intellectual activity. So we have to respect Sanskrit. And if we want to know something about the real spirit, the real nature of India, what was thought, the conceptions of the ancient times, 3 millenniaries ago, and all throughout medieval history, up to, I can say, the 20th century, I can say the middle of the 20th century, because I have met with great traditional pundits who were expounding the same corpus of knowledge as it was done many centuries ago. That was my good fortune to approach at least two of these great pandits. One, I have mentioned his name. I learned Sanskrit, basic Sanskrit with him, and afterwards he went on to teach me Mahabhashya and Shaiva Agama. I met also a great Iyengar Pandit, whose name is Narasimhacharya, and I have always admired his capacity of speaking Sanskrit and memorizing an immense, gigantic quantity of knowledge. A man who does not use books and who has everything in his brain, and everything very elevated. So I have a great respect for Sanskrit, and sometimes I am surprised that modern contemporary people of this age, this 21st century, have no consideration for Sanskrit. Well, we can defend the prestige of Sanskrit, we can display the beauty of Sanskrit poetry and Sanskrit literature, but such beauty of literature, such poetical inspiration can be found, I feel, in every language of the world, and to an equal elevation. Sanskrit is not alone, but Sanskrit has an immense literature, which is always, it is a boon given to humanity that there is Sanskrit literature for entertaining, for elevating the mind, and for provoking very good philosophical thought. I told that everything, I started to mention Kalidasa because Kalidasa is a very good channel to understand what is the view of the world in ancient India. We do not know when Kalidasa has been living, in which region he was living. Every state of the world of India claims that Kalidasa belongs to their country. But Kalidasa, if we read it, this is universal. And I say it is not only Indian, it is world, it is universal. The sayings of Kalidasa, it is the experience of poetry, high literature, and it is truths which are acceptable in all religion, in all conception of the world, in all times, and even in contemporary times. In ancient India, of course, religion was having an important place. It has an important place with Dharma, with the basic sacred text of Veda, and also with a common conception of the world. The world was conceived in ancient times as having two parts, the earth and the heaven. And there were two species which are distinguished, which are to be distinguished among all the species of living beings, that is, the men and the gods. And when we see an ancient book written in Sanskrit, there is always equal dimension which is given to mankind and to the world of gods and to the species of gods. This is beautifully expressed by Kalidasa. And Kalidasa again defines the Dharma by showing the two worlds and the relation which exists and which is fundamental between the two worlds for the sake of Dharma. Dudohagam sayajnaya sasyaya megavadivam sampat vinimayeno gro dadatu bhuvanadvayam. So the king was offering a sacrifice for the gods by pouring ghee, offering different things in fire. This is the yajna. Duduhagam, the king was taking the products of the earth for the yajna, for the sacrifice, for the religious action. Indra, Bhagavas, Sasyaya Bhagava Divam. Indra was extracting from the heaven for the purpose of harvest on the earth. The king was doing the products, offering the products of the earth to heaven, to the gods in heaven, and the king of heaven, that is Indra, who is called Magava, the benevolent, beneficent creature, being. Indra was giving rain to allow the fertility of the soil, of the earth. Sampad vinimayena, by an exchange of their wealth, they were sustaining the world. They were sustaining both worlds, Bhuvanadvayam, the pair of worlds. This is inseparable pair, just like the couple of the husband and wife. The Dharma, the couple made for the purpose of the Dharma. Voilà. This is what I have understood of the ancient conception according to, I can say, the first lesson of my Sanskrit teacher and Ramachandra Bhatt, because really this is the first explanation he has given me. Initially, when I told I wanted to study Sanskrit, he told me, I asked him, he told me, which kind of text do you want? I was not knowing anything about Sanskrit literature. I told him, what is the most beautiful text which you consider as the best literature of Sanskrit? And he told me, this is Patanjali's Mahabhashya. So I have spent a lot of time to try to understand Mahabhashya. This is quite difficult, but it is worthwhile. And I am very happy that I could spend so much and derive so much pleasure from studying some difficult branch of Sanskrit. All branches of Sanskrit are not difficult. There is a simple Sanskrit that exists. We can read a lot of, we can read the epics, which are much easier than Mahabhashya, which is a commentary on Panini, and which is a very elevated thought and very abstract thought. There are plenty of Puranas which are rather easier to read. And there is a simple Sanskrit that exists. And in literature, there is difficult literature. There is also easier one. Sanskrit can be, I maintain one thing, even in France to the French public, I maintain that we can have a good entertainment with Sanskrit, and at the same time, we can have a great elevation. I can give you one simple example. There is a poet which narrates the pining love of a lover. He is separated from the woman he loved so much, and he is afraid to send one messenger to her, thinking that the messenger could take benefit from the mission and remain with her, and she will not come back to me. So he decides to send his manas. Manas is in Sanskrit, manas is mind. In Sanskrit, it is napumsaka. So he sends one napumsaka, he takes no risk. Unfortunately, the manas does not come back to him. The manas remains with his beloved. This is the fate of lovers. The story finishes here, but it has another meaning also. The lover is the devotion, the devoted, is the devotee of a god. He loves his god, and he does not send a friend to the god, to Krishna or to Shiva. He decides to send his mind to the god. The mind, the manas, is a vehicle of meditation. We can have a representation, mental representation of the Lord only with the help of the mind. The mind is only a tool. It is classified by, in the theory, Sanskrit theory, as indriya, like sight, touch, and so on. So the manas is just a tool to carry the thought. The devotee wants to attach and to be, once his soul is Atman, to be attached to the Brahman, which is the soul of the Lord, of the God. Sending one's Atman, this is not possible. Only a messenger who is the Manas can go to him. So generally, the devotee concentrates, meditates upon the God with the help of his mind, and the mind goes to the God, explain its attachment, and finally, the meditation has an end, there is a stop, but the mind comes back without realizing the unity of the Atman and the God. Only when when the yogi reach the stage of samadhi, at that time the manas will not come back, and the Atman will become one with the Brahman, which is the soul, with the Paramatman, with the supreme self of the God. We have from this small entertaining anecdote, we can derive also one of the fundamental concepts and theory of Indian philosophy. This is the nature of Sanskrit. But now I have been speaking for some period. I don't know, time is passing, and time is passing easily with Sanskrit matter. I have told that Mahabharata is a great text, and this is considered by a traditional pundit as the best expression of thought in the Sanskrit. So the style of Mahabharata is very attractive. The thought is very terse and difficult. It is a commentary on the Ashtadhyayi of Panini and a criticism of the efficiency, of the proficiency, of the efficacy of the sutras of Panini. So I will first say a few words about Panini. Panini is a must if we want to study seriously Sanskrit. We can learn language only by speaking. This is possible. And we learn spoken language. Writing has no importance at all. Language is basically something which is spoken and which is a vehicle to carry a thought in a situation of communication with another person. Spoken language can be spoken very well if one does not know the structure of the language he is using. A villager who has no schooling at all can be a very good orator and a very good speaker, lively, according to his competence and personal capacity. Now, if we know how the language we speak is structured and what is the type of structure, because a language is always, every linguist will tell it now, excuse me, just a little refreshment of the throat is sometimes necessary. Yes.
I wish we could have offered you some tea or coffee. But because of this virtual, we can't offer you anything.
I take the liberty to have my coffee, and I
Thank you,
invite
sir.
you to take it also.
Actually, sir, till 12:15 we can have, and after that we will have a discussion session with Professor Vasundhara ma'am, and she will be doing, because a lot of our students participants are vernacular. So, ma'am, it would be nice. So once sir is done, after I think 12:15 will be all right, because at
Yeah.
1 we have to close.
Okay.
Yeah. So after 12:15 till 12:30, ma'am, or maybe 12:45, ma'am can give an half-hour gist of all what sir said, and even you can incorporate your thoughts in it, and you can explain a little bit more about on these aspects. And then we will have a 15 minutes Q&A, question and answer session.
Okay, so just say a few words about Panini and Patanjali. Panini is for me only a scientist. Panini, we do not know who he was exactly, where he lived, most probably in a territory which is now in Pakistan. This is a paradox of the modern situation, but Panini belongs probably to that area because he indicates some peculiarities of Sanskrit which are known only in this region. Panini is just like a mathematician for me. Panini, as we compose sutra, he was not the first composer of sutra. Before him, there were already other grammarians, and there were also mathematicians. The first geometry conceived in the world was created in the same region of Kurukshetra in the north, or at the northeast frontier of India, or maybe in Kashmir, or in this, or in Punjab. This is Baudhayana. Baudhayana has written one Shrota Sutra, and in this one Shulba Sutra, which is a set of geometrical formulae with first geometrical theorems of geometry, like Pythagoras theorem, which were started first by him, sometimes maybe in the 8th or 7th century BC, which is a very early date at that time. And Baudhayana has presented this in the form of sutra, short formulas. He has completed his Shulba Sutra by explaining how to arrange the bricks in the construction of one Vedi for the Agni sacrifice, for sacrifice in fire. This is a very systematic and we can say purely scientific work. Panini has followed the same method for language, and he has been able to analyze the different parts of any word, any sentence. A word is not made of one single part. It is not a rule. A word, the standard example is pachati, the verb pachati. He is cooking, he cooks. Pachati is made of 3 elements, the root, one ending, a root, pach, which means to cook, and an ending, which means an agent of cooking, and there is one intermediary R called shap by Panini. This is a conventional technical word, which already expresses this idea of so the root, basic root is patch. The word patch is never employed alone in the spoken language. Only Panini has separated it during his work of analysis. And his sutra is just a method to build one full word and full sentence from the different parts of which are structuring language. So these different parts are a base, which is a root, signifying an action, an activity, having some result. The activity of cooking has a result, which is that the rice become softening of rice. So all this meaning is contained in the root pach only. But when we say pachati, he cooks. We mean also that there is an agent, someone who is acting for this. And we can add Pachati Odanam, he is cooking rice. We can say Pachati Odanam Starlian, he is cooking rice in a pot. In such a place, Mahanase, in the kitchen, and so on. We can add continuously different words which will join through their components. So all word, every word is composed of some basic elements. Panini has identified the elements, and he shows in approximately 4,000 formulae, 4,000 sutra. He shows how to build up a full sentence, Pachati, Odanam, Stalyam, and so on. This method of construction can be compared to the method of constructing Vedi, the altar of the sacrifice, the support of the sacrifice, with bricks of different shapes, which are previously well defined. So the method is quite similar, and this is a purely positive, objective activity. What is the benefit of learning the 4,000 sutras of Panini, learning by heart the 4,000 sutras of Panini, and following the same course? Naturally, we are often able to speak our mother tongue without taking so much trouble as to understand the complicated sutras of Panini. But if we follow the method of Panini, we are sure to have a correct language and an efficient, proficient language. Proficiency of language is a must, is a benefit which we can take from using a grammar. And Sanskrit has become practically the perfect language, because it is well prepared. This is the basic definition of the word Sanskrita. It is well prepared, well equipped with the work of the Vyakarana, with the work of the analyst, with the work of Panini. Now, the work of Panini is not absolutely perfect. There are difficulties which are coming when we want to apply systematically, methodically, blindly the sutras. We risk to create words which do not exist and which are never spoken. So Patanjali has come and he has written a huge Mahabhashya. It is called Maha because it is very long, and it is also very elevated and very difficult. Patanjali has examined the proficiency of the sutras. Do they produce real words or not? And he has brought a lot of perfection, a lot of improvement to the efficiency of the sutras. And after Patanjali, who comes in the 2nd century BC, probably, we are not sure, but probably in the 2nd century BC, Sanskrit has not been modified by the Pandits. They were studying basically Panini and Patanjali. These two texts have never been written. Only at a very late period, after 16th century, we see manuscripts of this text. The Sutra of Panini is memorized, and like the text of the Rig Veda and the text of the four Samhitas and a few Brahmanas, a few Upanishads, it has been the transmission has been only from a teacher to a disciple, and through the effort of memorizing. Uh, Sanskrit literature in ancient times is oral literature. Uh, Probably at the time of Panini, the principle of writing was known, but Panini has not used it. And traditional Pandits do not use
Is there any problem?
I think they got disconnected, so I'm trying to connect to him. Ma'am, there is some recording problem. I think you both got disconnected or something. There's some network. Yeah, there's some network issue over there. Hello. Oh, yeah, it's unstable. It has not. It's not gone, but it's unstable. Okay, okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah, sure. That would be better. You can rejoin. Dear all, our guests will be rejoining soon because of some connection problem. They have disconnected and they will be rejoining us soon. All of you, we will be back soon. Okay. um, in रुकावट के लिए खेद हो गया. एक मिनट.
We are live now.
Yeah. Very good morning again, everybody. Professor Philozia and Mrs. Dr. Vasundhara ma'am, they will be joining us very soon. There is some connectivity issue. As you all know, it's heavily raining in all parts of India. So we are expecting them to join very soon. Meanwhile, we have just shared a poll. So if you have any questions related to the presentation, kindly ask. If some any other detailed you would like to know little more about this whole thing, then also please let us know. तो प्लीज आप लोग आपका कोई भी क्वेश्चन हो, कोई भी कमेंट हो, कोई कमेंट अदर देन दैट इट वाज अ वेरी इंफॉर्मेटिव सेशन, विच डेफिनेटली इट वाज. अगर आप लोगों का कोई भी क्वेश्चन हो तो प्लीज पूछिए, बिकॉज क्वेश्चन आंसर इज वन ऑफ द मोस्ट इम्पोर्टेंट थिंग. अगर ऐसा कुछ रहा, अगर कनेक्टिविटी इशू रही, तो वी कैन ask these question on WhatsApp and they can give the answer to us. So I request humbly everybody to please raise their questions. Or agar aapko, because Professor Philozia is expert in Panini's grammar. तो अगर आपको पानिनियन ग्रामर से रिलेटेड कुछ भी क्वेश्चन है तो प्लीज आप लोग रेज कीजिए, जो हम उनको फॉरवर्ड करेंगे और वो आंसर भी देंगे. So I request everybody to please raise their questions and please join us.